Welcome to our meeting Tuesday, September 9th. We are going to go ahead and start with roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Madrone. Supervisor Wilson.
Here.
Supervisor Arroyo. Here. Supervisor Bohn. Chair Bushnell.
Good morning again.
All are here. Also, Chair, we will need to do roll call through vote.
Okay. Okay, so, and everybody acknowledged we're going to be doing roll call this morning? Okay. All right, well, we'll salute our flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. CAO Hayes, are there any modifications today?
Good morning, Chair Bushnell. There are no modifications today, but I would like to point out that Supervisor Arroyo is present with us today rather than attending remotely at the Los Angeles location. So if any folks happen to be in LA hoping to hang out with Supervisor Arroyo, she is not there. She is here, and you can participate by Zoom.
Okay, thank you. So before we go to some of our proclamations, does the board have any comments about the consent calendar? That would be no. Okay, we'll go to our first proclamation, it is brought to us by Supervisor Wilson, and I'll let him introduce it.
Thank you. All right. Well, annually we tend to do this thing called Constitution Week. And so what I'm going to do is read a proclamation and present. Is there anyone here to receive the proclamation? Oh, there you are. Hold on a second. Let me read it, and then we'll get to that in just a minute. Okay. I mean, if you want to stand there, you can. But you're. If you want to stand there, that's great, and then we'll hear what you have to say. So.
Please join us at the podium. Hi.
We'll figure it out one way or another.
Okay.
We'll have this process all worked out by the time we retire. All right. Humboldt County Board of Supervisors proclamation in honor of Constitution Week. Whereas it's September 17th, 2025 marks the 237th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas the United States Constitution signed on September 17th, 1787 stands as the foundation of our nation's government and the embodiment of principles of liberty, justice, and democracy. And whereas the Constitution of the United States of America was a turning point in world history, establishing a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And whereas the central promise of the Constitution of equal rights under the law was unfulfilled at its inception. And this promise that all people were created equal had to be made real through struggle, civil war, Seneca Falls, Stonewall, Wounded Knee, and through multiple constitutional amendments. And whereas through the process of amendments, beginning with the Bill of Rights, the Constitution has been expanded and improved to better fulfill the promise of equality and freedom for all, including the abolition of slavery with the 13th Amendment, the granting of citizenship and equal protection under the law through the 14th Amendment, and the extension of voting rights with the 15th and 19th Amendments. And whereas these amendments and others have been essential in addressing injustices and inequalities that persisted in the original Constitution, reflecting our nation's ongoing commitment to expanding freedoms and enhancing democracy. And whereas the unfinished work of creating a more perfect union requires each generation to continue to defend and amend the Constitution to ensure that rights and liberties of all people are protected and expanded. And whereas Humboldt County recognizes the importance of education about the Constitution, including its amendments and fostering a greater understanding of their role in shaping and defending our democratic institutions. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this important document. And whereas the Daughters of the American Revolution and other civic organizations have led efforts to promote the study and celebration of the Constitution, encouraging all Americans to reflect on the significance of this document and the ongoing work needed to realize its ideals. And whereas Humboldt County, with its strong tradition of civic engagement, social justice, proudly joins the nation in honoring Constitution Week as a time to reflect on our shared history and to commit ourselves to the ongoing work of expanding and protecting the rights enshrined in the Constitution. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the County of Humboldt does hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2025 as Constitution Week, and encourages all citizens to reaffirm the ideals inherent within the Constitution by celebrating the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering those who struggled to ensure that the principles of the Constitution can be enjoyed by all, and recognizing that recognizing that lost rights may never be regained. Let us honor the legacy of citizens and non-citizens who fought for the rights that we now enjoy and recognize our responsibility to defend and expand these rights for future generations. And thank you for being here. And
Thank you for this proclamation designating the week of September 17th through the 23rd, Constitution Week, and for honoring this foundational document. As a member of Redwood Forest Chapter Daughters of the American Revolution, I am honored to accept this document. I have been so honored many times. The first one was on September 11th, 2001. I came to get the proclamation that morning feeling stunned from what I had been watching on television before leaving the house. I'm sure all of you know just what I mean. At this meeting, the events took over. Everybody was stunned. And there were still things unfolding at that point when the meeting started. At that time, I couldn't remember what else I was supposed to say. What I said at the time was, with this, we are going to really need our Constitution more than ever. Over the past 24 years, I think I've watched our Constitution seemingly be somewhat devalued in law and practice, and I'm sorry about that. I am not a lawyer, I'm not a constitutional scholar, so I could be wrong in what I've seen, but I don't think so. The Daughters of the American Revolution consider ourselves to be patriotic. During our DAR meetings, we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, just as you did. We say the preamble to the Constitution, and we also say the American's Creed by William Tyler Page. The creed ends with the words, "I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies." These are times when I would call on all to defend this Constitution.
Thank you. Mike will bring the proclamation out to you.
let me step on your toe.
All right, 1, 2, 3. All right.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go on to our next one, which is being brought to us from Supervisor Bohn, and it's a resolution in honor of the Scotia Band. Anybody that's okay, come forward, please.
Well, I think everybody in the room grew up with the Scotia Band, except for you, those over 90. Scotia Band was formed in 1935 by a group of individuals in the Pacific Lumber Company town of Scotia, California. and has performed continuously for 90 years. Whereas the Scotia Band has achieved the status of 501c3 nonprofit organization with emphasis on education. Whereas the Scotia Band is an all-volunteer organization, has performed at many public and private events throughout Humboldt County. Last saw you at the Wildwood Days in Riadale. You guys rocked it. Whereas the Scotia Band has provided musical education at elementary schools, tutored and mentored children in school bands, provided instruments for individuals to play in a school band, and has established the annual Sol Lufkin Memorial Scholarship to encourage building music scholars. And whereas Scotia Band epitomizes the essence of a community band, now therefore it resolved the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors hereby recognize the Scotia Band as Humboldt County's community band, signed by our chair, Michelle Bushnell.
Thank you so much for that. Good morning. My name is Ken Ayub. I am the music director and conductor of the Scotia Band. Again, I want to thank you for that resolution. We bring musicians together ages 14 to 80. We are also the stewards of the Swiss Hall in Lolita, doing our best to keep it flying as an over 100-year-old building. And we are able to bring the pleasures of music to ourselves and to the community. So I thank you so much for that.
And I know it was a two-headed dragon, but the Swiss Hall, they were looking for new tenants after over 100 years. Mm-hmm. And the one call I would get would be about every 3 years from the Scotia Band going, where can we go, Rex? We need somewhere to store all our uniforms, equipment, and everything else. And so the Scotia, now they have a practice hall, a venue to actually perform in, and it's been a good thing for you guys. So
It is. It's expensive to keep it flying, but we're working on it. Thank you so much. Really.
there you go.
Great. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You bet.
Okay, we're going to continue on. Sometimes we have a lot of proclamations, sometimes we don't have any. Today we have quite a few. So this is coming from us from Supervisor Madrone, proclamation recognizing September 2025 as National PACE Month in Humboldt County. And if you're here for this, please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, thanks for being here. You guys with the Senior Resource Center?
We certainly are.
I figured as much. Great,
Yes.
thank you for being here.
Thank you for sponsoring our proclamation.
You're absolutely welcome. Whereas the elderly population in Humboldt County is growing rapidly with a significant impact on healthcare needs and costs, and whereas the program of all-inclusive care for the elderly, or PACE, is a fully integrated, comprehensive model of care that allows older adults who qualify for a nursing home level of care to continue living safely and independently in their homes and communities. And whereas participants enrolled in PACE receive all Medicare and Medicaid covered services, along with additional supports such as rehabilitation, transportation, nutrition, and social engagement and family caregiver assistance that promote overall health and well-being. And whereas PACE programs assume full financial responsibility for participants, their medical care and related services, including transportation, hospitalization, and long-term care through capitated payments from Medicare and Medicaid, thereby helping to control costs for the state while improving quality of care. And whereas Redwood Coast PACE, a program of the Humboldt Senior Resource Center, has served more than 650 older adults in Humboldt County with day centers located in Fortuna, Eureka, and now Arcata, providing a trusted local resource for families and seniors alike. And whereas PACE has consistently demonstrated improved health outcomes, greater participant satisfaction, and enhanced quality of life for older adults while supporting families and strengthening communities. Now, therefore, the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims September 2025 as National PACE Month in the County of Humboldt, and encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of Redwood Coast PACE in ensuring dignity, independence, and quality care for our community seniors. So I'll bring this down to you.
you were gonna be in the photo. Okay. Now we have to compete over who gets the better picture.
We made your nap. There we go. So I would like to thank all of you for this honor and express our gratitude on behalf of our agency and our programs, particularly our Redwood Coast PACE program. We could not do the work that we do without your support, which is integral to our success. And I would like to thank you for declaring September National PACE Month in Humboldt County. And I would like to let the board know that we're so incredibly proud of the work we've done. We are the first rural PACE program in the state of California, and we are one of the most successful PACE programs in the country, the rural PACE programs. So thank you again for your support and the work that we do in supporting our aging population.
Thank you. So you would have to wait, are those handouts?
Yes.
Okay, you could give them to our CAO and then she'll hand them out. Thanks so much. And then we're going to go on to, this one is from Supervisor Arroyo, and this is proclaim September 2025 as Hunger Action Month in Humboldt County.
Thank you. Welcome. All right. This proclamation is for Hunger Action Month, September 2025, whereas more than 1 in 7 Americans, or 13.5%, said that there have been times over the past 12 months where they did not have enough money to buy food that they or their families needed. And whereas in Humboldt County, hunger is a daily experience for many people, with more than 22,000 people facing food insecurity, or 16.7% of the county, of which nearly 6,000 are children, for a child food insecurity rate of 22%. And whereas almost 30,000 Humboldt residents participate in CalFresh, 26% of whom are children, and whereas hunger costs our nation at least $160 billion each year due to the combination of lost economic productivity, avoidable health care costs, poor educational outcomes, and lower lifetime earnings, and the cost of charitable assistance to keep families fed. And whereas Food for People, the food bank for Humboldt County, distributed more than 2.4 million pounds of food last year, and its services reach more than 21,000 individuals and communities across Humboldt County each month. And whereas Food for People, excuse me, is joining the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to urge community members to learn and do something about hunger in Humboldt County every day, and to take action locally because we can end hunger when we all work together. Now, therefore, the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes September as Hunger Action Month and encourages the community to learn more about hunger and take action to ensure that every Humboldt County resident every day has enough to eat.
Yes, you may.
Thanks for having the phone. Yeah, good morning. Thank you all. Thanks for recognizing September as Hunger Action Month. Actually, today is Hunger Action Day, so thanks for having your meeting on a Tuesday, on a Monday. I'm here to express our deep gratitude for your continued support for Food for People, which is an investment in the health, dignity, and resilience of vulnerable community members in every district of Humboldt County. Hunger Action Month is a national campaign, as Supervisor Arroyo said, by Feeding America and the food banks of the nation, and it's held every September to raise awareness and inspire action to end hunger in our country. It takes all of us to make sure that every person facing hunger gets the food that they need, and when we work together, we can end hunger. At a time when the cost of basic needs like groceries and healthcare is out of reach for millions, hunger in America is a crisis. 1 in 5 kids face hunger, and that's more than 13 million children nationwide, and more than 5,000, almost 6,000 children here in Humboldt County. In some of our local school districts, more than 80% of kids qualify for free and reduced lunches. With recent national changes to food assistance for food banks and programs like SNAP and CalFresh, millions more Americans will soon face deep food insecurity.
Thanks. I wanted to add on to what David said. Carly Robbins, Executive Director at Food for People. We are at a point where we're anticipating a national crisis for hunger. Here in Humboldt County, Food for People is working to improve the health of our community through access to healthy foods, community education, and advocacy. Last year, we distributed 2.6 million pounds of food in Humboldt County, serving more than 21,000 individuals every single month. Not only do we distribute food directly to clients through our Choice Pantry, our mobile distributions, and our child and senior programs, we provide food to a network of partners. Humboldt Senior Resource Center, who was just recognized as one of those vital ones, including other food pantries, schools, meal sites, and resource centers. Well, our main site is here in Eureka. We provide food all across the county. We go as far north as Oric, down to Garberville, east to communities like Blue Lake, Bridgeville, Dinsmore, Oric, Orleans, and more. Recently, we've even expanded to help more underserved communities, expanding to Alder Point, Petrolia, Honeydew, Myers Flat, and even more. Thanks to our partnership with the county, we're also able to help households apply and recertify for CalFresh, which is a vital benefit that brings more resources to communities all across our county. And more, we're even providing emergency food response to help communities affected from anything from wildfires and earthquakes to winter storms and road closures. Thanks to our dedicated staff, volunteers, and community partners, we're both a safety net and long-term support, helping to meet immediate needs while also supporting long-term stability, so hopefully families don't have to choose between rent and food or rent and medical. Hunger does not discriminate. It affects seniors on low fixed incomes, single parents, veterans, thousands of working residents who just can't keep up with the cost of living here. And the need is growing. Unfortunately, higher costs for gas, food, utilities, medical care, housing have had a sharp increase in food insecurity. In the last 2 years, we've seen a huge increase at Food for People. Many people are seeking food assistance for the very first time in their lives, and we're doing everything we can to meet the need, but we can't do it alone, which is why we appreciate you recognizing this as Hunger Action Month, because we all want to live in a country where every child is ready to learn, where no senior has to skip meals to afford their medication, and where every family has the opportunity to thrive. So on behalf of everyone we serve, many of whom will probably never walk into this room, I want to thank you for your support and for recognizing that food insecurity is foundational to the outcomes that we all care about as a county. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Supervisor Bohn.
You know, you might be right. They may not walk into this room, but there isn't a member up here that hasn't got a phone call asking where I can get help. And it's pretty easy when we can throw your name out there and send them straight to you. And that's my first call usually, and especially during disasters and everything else, and the availability and everything that you do in so many different areas you touch is really, really appreciated.
Thank you.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this proclamation really highlights the incredible work that Food for People does as our local food bank and the need. And I also, we have separate occasions to recognize the important role that our eligibility workers play, but I still think it bears saying again that we have a whole team of people that help folks get the resources that they need here at the county too. And so Food for People is a critical partner, and we have an amazing team who just make sure that people get what they need. Peppered throughout all the branches of the county, we really strive to ensure that people get connected to resources. So thank you to everyone who plays a role in that.
I'll echo my colleagues and want to say that I appreciate, especially in my district, the areas that you have gone that are very rural, Blocksburg and Alder Point. I have gone there on occasion just to see people, and it's very well anticipated and used, and is really, those folks are sometimes don't have cars, sometimes don't have transportation, and so it's such a great service that is in those very rural communities. So thank you. So our next one is going to be proclamation. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in Humboldt County. Is anybody here for this one? Hi. Whereas Whereas the week of September 7th through 13th, 2025 is National Suicide Prevention Week, a time for individuals, organizations, and communities around the county to join to join voices and amplify the message that suicide can be prevented. And where in Humboldt County, we also observe Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in September. And whereas in 2023, California Kids Survey, 22% of Humboldt County 11th graders reported considering suicide in the last 12 months. These rates increased with students who are non-binary, 51%, and gay or lesbian or bisexual, 42%. And nationally, the 2023 Indigenous LGBTQ Month Mental Health Report stated that 54% of Indigenous LGBTQ young people reported seriously considering suicide in the past year, compared to 41% in the broader example of LGBTQ young people. And whereas it is recognized by the World Health Organization that while suicide can impact anyone, the social and structural determinants of individuals and communities impact individuals, access to tenets of wellness, such as access to effective medical and behavioral health care, social support, livelihood, and a sense of hope. And whereas the Humboldt County Suicide Prevention Network is a coalition made up of organizations, youth, school, local tribes, and community members that are working to help suicide uplift hope and create tools to care for mental health and cruelty responsive ways. And whereas in the U.S., anyone can access 24/7 emotional support by calling or texting the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. And whereas the Trevor Project, a 24/7 national-wide free and confidential support line dedicated to providing information and support to Two-Spirit and LGBTQIA+ youth, can be accessed by calling or texting 866-488-7386. And whereas suicide prevention is rooted in having caring conversations with folks struggling to find hope in the world and being able to help build out source of strength such as family support, positive friends, mentors, healthy activities, generosity, spiritual, sorry, I just had a tooth pulled, spiritual and physical and mental health. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes the week of September 7th through the 13th as Suicide Prevention Week. I'm going to bring this down.
Scoot over just a little bit to your left. Thank you. 3, 2, and 1. Take the 3, 2, and 1. Okay.
Hi, good morning. The Suicide Prevention Network would like to thank the Board of Supervisors for presenting this year's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month proclamation. We often think of mental health as a siloed experience, and that practice is informed through violent systems of control such as the heteropatriarchy, colonialism, transphobia, xenophobia, ableism, and others. These systems attempt to limit the ways that we can live and love and care in this world, attempting to push us into boxes of who we can be depending on our race, gender, sexuality, class, age, ability, etc. But the work of suicide prevention ruptures those boxes. Suicide prevention is making sure people are housed, that they're fed, that Two-Spirit and LGBTQIA community are safe and supported, that we name and resist genocides, that our events and buildings are accessible, that our migrant communities feel safe and supported. It means fighting and caring for a world worth living in, where no one is disposable and we can hold each other through grief and anger in ways that cultivate connection, knowing that our mental health is holding hands with collective liberation. Suicide prevention is the labor of loving in reminding each other that we're not alone. Thank you again, and we hope to see you at all of the events that are uplifting humanity right now. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. I can, people have known people that have committed suicide, and it touches everyone at some point, and losing a loved one is so hard, but losing a loved one to suicide is just that much more harder and brings on a lot of different feelings. And so I want to really thank you guys for the work that you do, and really bringing recognition, especially to young folks and folks that really are struggling and need that help. So we appreciate you so much. Supervisor Arroyo, you can stay for a minute.
Thank you so much for the important work you do. And I know this is really one of the highlighted areas in our community health improvement plan, and something that we're striving to understand better in our community. And we see rates of suicidal ideation and people carrying through with suicide cure higher than in other places. So this is so important. And I just want to urge folks in other in another workplace in the Coast Guard. I have done a lot of training around both teaching people how to be a peer and how to reach out and say something and just get over that hump of fear and awkwardness when you notice that someone is their behavior has changed. And so I want to urge everyone, that the real takeaway was really that you cannot introduce the idea to someone by asking if they're okay and asking them if they're thinking about it. But it is worth asking. And if someone needs that support, often where they will get it is from someone close to them in their daily life, and not from somebody out in the ether who's going to swoop in and save the day. Perhaps that person exists, and there are people out there that we can turn to for help, but really it's on all of us to ask and check in with the people around us if we notice something different. So I urge everyone to do that. It can be scary, but I have done it before, and it really deepened my relationship with the person who was really struggling. And rather than making things awkward or weird between us, it really made it so that we're so close. So it just is a form of love and caring to check in with the people around you. So thanks.
Thank you. So before we go out to public comment, is there any other comments from the board on the consent calendar? Supervisor Wilson.
Just because of the timing, I didn't get back up here in time before you got to the next proclamation, so I just wanted to say a few words about the Constitution Week one. I just want to say I was proud of Humboldt County's proclamation on Constitution Week. I think it takes a special urgency as we face unprecedented threats to our democratic experiment. This annual recognition serves as both a celebration of our constitutional heritage and a clarion call for vigilance in protecting the institutions that safeguard our freedoms. I want to particularly thank the Daughters of the American Revolution and other civic organizations for their steadfast efforts to promote constitutional education. Their work has never been more critical as we witness direct challenges to the fundamental principles that have sustained our republic for 240 years. Today, we face serious threats to the separation of powers that our founders carefully designed to prevent authoritarian overreach. We see attacks on the independence of our judiciary, attempts to undermine the peaceful transfer of power, and efforts to restrict voting rights that are the cornerstone of our democratic participation. Even birthright citizenship, a bedrock principle enshrined in the 14th Amendment, faces challenges that would have been unthinkable just years ago. The assault on free speech through the spread of disinformation and vilification of independent journalism threatens the informed citizenry and democracy requires. When truth itself becomes partisan, the very foundation of democratic discourse crumbles. These are not abstract historical concerns. They are immediate threats to the constitutional order we are celebrating this week. The Constitution has weathered many storms, but has never been merely self-executing. It requires active defense by citizens who understand that democracy is fragile, that the rights once lost may never be regained. The amendments that expand equality and justice did not come easily. They required courage, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to the constitutional principles, even when it was politically difficult. That same courage is demanded of us today. Constitution Week reminds us that protecting democracy is not a spectator sport. Each generation must choose whether to be passive observers or active defenders of a constitutional government. In this moment of testing, I encourage all residents of Humboldt County to stand up for democratic values and institutions that have made America the beacon of freedom for the world. Our Constitution is not just a historical document, it's a living charter that depends on our commitment to uphold and advance it to serve future generations and remain an inspiration to emerging democracies around the world. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go out to public comment, and we'll start with the Zoom.
There's none, Chair.
Okay, public comment in the room. Good morning.
Good morning. There is a clear and present danger here in Eureka. There is an event that could forever change the history of our city. The magnitude of this event is enormous. The Eureka Police Department and Fire Department are taking
Sir,
a reactive.
Can I ask you, are you making public comment on the consent calendar? Or general public comment?
It's not on the consent calendar.
So you'll just need to wait a few minutes until the next item. Okay. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I would just like to make public comment on item D13, which is the notice of vacancy for the Human Rights Commission. As the clerk of the board, I just wanted to inform you and our public that we are short approximately 5 members on that commission. So we are actively accepting applications, and if you all could recruit, that would be amazing. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I did take the bus in the rain, just so you know, reporting in. My name's Joanne McGarry, and speaking of the Constitution, I have it here in my hand because I received it at a wonderful performance of a play at the North Coast Repertory Theater, NCRT. I saw the dress rehearsal of What the Constitution Means to Me. It's an excellent, excellent play. And I recommend that everybody watch it because it involves young people speaking about the Constitution. So I appreciate this proclamation. I appreciate the Constitution of our United States. I actually have the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence in the window of my living space. It's really important to me. And just another reminder, today is the 175th anniversary of the state of California, and I am glad to be living and a person existing in the state of California in the United States of America.
Thank you. Good morning, Kent.
The older I get, the more I realize there's not equity for all. I see it in Humboldt County. If you know somebody who's in a position of power, department head or something, you can get about anything you want in certain circumstances, and that's not how it should be. It should be everybody has equity. If you're an individual who doesn't have enough money to pay for your own lawyer in the court system, you can be assigned a CWS lawyer who has no intention of representing you for your best interest. I've seen this example. So it's the rich are the only ones who seem to be able to get what they want. If you get the right lawyer, that lawyer is connected with certain departments and certain things. And there's all kinds of things that happen behind the scenes that show favoritism. So that's a very unfortunate thing. I don't think that should be prevalent in Humboldt County. Most likely it will be adjudicated eventually, and we'll see where that all rolls. So that's really important. The other thing I wish to mention is you're having a intention to purchase 4325 Broadway. It's an interesting, very large site down there. I think it was looked at years ago by you folks to try to acquire. I saw the price, I read the things. Apparently the person who owned it got it through a tax-free exchange. As far as I could tell, you're getting parcel 1 and not 2 and 3. I couldn't tell that you were. 2 and 3 are the apples out in front of the parcel. I support you doing this. Of course, first thing you're going to want, public would like to know is, what is the feasibility study and estimate to bring that particular facility up to satisfy your needs? I mean, you're looking at 5 million plus 5,750 or whatever. Is it another 5 million to bring it up to your needs? 1 million too? Always look at it from that viewpoint. Don't know whether we have the funds to accomplish that. I think we have probably 15 million in our site plan for these facilities. The other thing is, of course, instantly, I'm sure you're going to arrange for a electric shuttle system or a way to get people from all the way over there to here. It's a long ways away, so it does have a major carbon imprint as far as getting your people and your diversification. Whereas if you were able to acquire the lot right across the street with the bridge across there, you have just about no carbon imprint. So I guess on all these things, you've done some feasibility studies. The price seemed to be in line. It was going basically a market price as far as I could tell. The county needs assets like this. I don't pay market price, but on these kind of things, you probably, you're lucky to get it. I'm not disappointed, but I hope we're looking at the long-term investment, because you have a lot of satellite things you put in McKinleyville, other places that we have, and we're probably going to have to claw those back. As the financial budget goes down, those all kind of go away. Hopefully you'll be liquidating other assets that you have where you have these places housed, where we do own them in certain facilities, moving everybody out there. But I do support the project in general. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anybody else have public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for a motion, please.
I move consent.
Second.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bohn?
Yep.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Chair Bushnell?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll go to public comment on non-agenda items. It's your turn now, sir. You'll have 3 minutes.
There is a clear and present danger here in Eureka. There is an event that could forever change the history of our city. The magnitude of this event is enormous. The Eureka Police Department and Fire Department are taking a reactive approach to this threat. They do not know how to be proactive. A massive mistake. There is a state agency that can help and be proactive with this problem. All the city of Eureka needs to do is ask for their help at no cost to the city. People's lives have been threatened. Imagine a gun pointed at your head and you don't know when they are going to pull the trigger. These people are living in absolute fear of their lives and will not sleep until the threat goes away. I'm asking for your help to stop this event from happening. Please help. I'm leaving some information in regards to this threat. An explosive event occurred recently. This should have been a wake-up call, but went nowhere. How very sad. I'll leave you with this. Crooks know where the police don't go. Crooks know where the police don't go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like this also back when you're finished looking at it. I've been vague. There's a lunatic on the loose.
Sir, if you're going to hand that over, I don't know that we would give it back. So you need
That's okay.
you
If
need
you don't give it back, that's fine.
Okay, I just want you to be clear. Good morning again.
Good morning. People have a hard time understanding exactly what's happening out in Blue Lake at this time. We do have a rather contentious history in Blue Lake as far as politics go. So I provided you with a document here. It goes back a few years. We have a certain individual there who is currently involved in politics again, working with the ex-city mayor. And so this was when he was running it, and it was actually signed. So it's Citizens for Responsible Blue Lake Government, members including Blue Lake City Mayor Dave Nakamura, former City Mayor Tom Sheets, former City Mayor, current City Council Member Adeline Jones, former City Parks and Recreation Director Jan Henry, City Planning Commissioner Bill Cure, and many more. So historically, things are really not even all that strange for Blue Lake. So just a little bit about this person is thinking of voting for Alex Ricca, please think again. Alex may be new to you, but he had decades of recorded behavior that has damaged continues to damage the city of Blue Lake. Alex Ricca was terminated for cause by Blue Lake Employment for misuse of city of Blue Lake property, inexcusable neglect of duty, and other failure of good behavior that causes discredit to his agency or his employment. Alex's firing was upheld unanimously by the Blue Lake City Council. And this goes on to have a few more things here. Alex Rick was formally censured as a city council member by the Blue Lake City Council Resolution number 686 for slander, baseless accusations, creating an increasingly difficult work environment for city staff. Nonetheless, Alex has continued his tirade against the city of Blue Lake, causing the city to spend tens of thousands of dollars defending itself in court and being forced to conduct duplicate financial audits, not a single which one has shown any wrongdoing by any Blue Lake City employee. Before you vote, consider the words of then Blue Lake Mayor Adeline Jones, who has had years and years of experience dealing with Alex Ricca, when she said during Alex's unsuccessful bid for election in 2002, if we had a council full of Alexes, the city would be shut down. So that's what our current council is coming up against. He's currently out there suing the city again, frivolous lawsuits. And so hopefully Blue Lake will get past this and it'll all get fixed. I think we have a very competent council, one of the most competent ones I've seen out there in years, and they do have ability to get things done. But I thought I'd let you know, this kind of makes what happens between you folks next to nothing as far as the contentiousness that happens from you folks at the dais compared to what happened historically in Blue Lake, and hopefully will be going away there. It's currently ongoing, but we hope to fix it and make Blue Lake a unified Blue Lake and make it okay again for everybody to be politically involved without having a person like this threatening the mayor with to kill the mayor. So we want to avoid those things. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Joanne McGarry. Three things. Domestically, even locally, I am helping a person who was formerly unhoused, a veteran actually, and I need to borrow people's cars to drive around to get all the services that person has available to them. And it's been quite the chore. It's been a weeks-long effort for me. And when we're talking about consolidating services for other entities in the county, places where, like the San Antonio, City of San Antonio model, where we can have a lot of those services concentrated in one area for people to get and in a timely manner, and it would really serve us really, really well. You've made the decision to go ahead with the Kmart, and I know it was discussed on consent, but we need spaces in our community for social services that are convenient for people who are living in harsh conditions, and even not so harsh conditions, to be able to go to one place to get a lot of the services that they need. So that's the domestic issue. Foreign issues, well, I also, domestic and foreign, climate action plan. I was told it was going to be discussed in July. It hasn't come forward as far as I was aware yet, and climate action is really important for our world. And speaking of that, Greta Thunberg, one of my admired climate activists, is on a boat sailing in the Mediterranean to bring humanitarian aid to the shores of Gaza for the people there who are hungry. Hunger Action, talk about hungry, they are the people who are hungry and in need of our help. And the Golden Rule Peace Boat and the Veterans for Peace have a boat. The Veterans for Peace group internationally has a boat sailing with this flotilla, the Global Samud Flotilla. It was just, one of the boats was just bombed last night, but it would be really great to see this county support our Golden Rule Peace Boat and support the Global Samud Flotilla that's trying to help people starving in Gaza. So it would be great to see some sort of proclamation or resolution about that in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, I'll close public comment on non-agenda items, and we're going to go to our first and only public hearing coming from Planning and Building. and this is an appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of a parcel map subdivision application of an approximately 4.55 acre parcel into two parcels of approximately 1.4 acres. Hello, sir. Are you part of this?
Yes, I'm the applicant and I'm hard of hearing, so I need to be close. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. You can actually, okay, okay. So we're going to go to Director Ford, and I'm going to open the public hearing.
Thank you, Chair Bushnell. Good morning. John Ford and Cliff Johnson to present the staff report for the appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to deny a parcel map request to subdivide a 4.6 acre parcel into parcels of 1.4 acres and 3.2 acres. The Planning Commission struggled with denying what appears to be a fairly simple parcel map, but based upon policy considerations, ultimately chose to deny the request with a vote of 6-1. Cliff Johnson will now present the important considerations associated with this application.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Cliff Johnson with the Planning and Building Department. Give me 1 second to have this come up and get into it. So as Director Ford said, this is a parcel map subdivision for approximately 4.6 acre parcel into two parcels. Did we lose my feed?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what's happening. Hopefully it comes back up. Okay. Approximately 4.6 acre parcel into two parcels, one of 1.4 acres and another of 3.2 acres. This shows you the location, approximately 150 feet from the City of Arcata boundary off Golf Course Road in the Jacoby Creek area. This is showing the proposed subdivision. Of note, this property consists of two assessor parcel numbers, and so, but it is one legal parcel. And so the proposed subdivision would basically create each assessor parcel number as its own separate legal parcel. The project includes on-site water and septic. It does include, the application includes a variance request to the minimum lot size, because the minimum lot size under the zoning here is 2.5 acres. And they are proposing two parcels, one of 1.4 acres and one of 3.2 acres, so that would require a variance because, and what I'll get to in a second, does not meet the requirements for lot size modification. And the applicant has submitted a substantial amount of information to support their contention that this is conforms to the general plan and the community plan. So minimum lot size modification, as I mentioned, the minimum lot size under the zone here is 2.5 acres per parcel. The zoning code does allow for lot sizes to be less than that under this provision of the subdivision ordinance, which basically allows you to create parcels. Some may be smaller than the minimum of the zone in order to account for various constraints. But it does include the requirement there that's underlined that the area of the total property in the before condition divided by the total number of lots to be created cannot result in an average area less than that required by in the applicable zone or general plan designation. So if you have a 5 acre parcel and you want to split it into two, you could theoretically have a 1.5 acre parcel as long as the other parcel is 3.5 acres and they both meet that 5. In this case, they cannot meet the requirements of the minimum lot size modification because they would be creating essentially more parcels than would be allowed under the zone. So they have applied for a variance. The variance findings include that it basically state that variance shall only be granted when there's special circumstances applicable to the property, including size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings, and that strict application of the zoning ordinance deprives the property of privileges enjoyed by other properties in the vicinity and under the same identical zoning classification. A variance also should not be granted if it would grant a special privilege to that property. Yes. And so planning staff does not believe that the variance findings can be made. We don't believe that there's anything unusual to this property that does not apply to other properties in the vicinity. Part of the applicant's justification for the variance is that at one point there was the parent parcel from which this parcel came from was intended to be split into 4 parcels. That was never something that was applied for until this subdivision now. And so the intent to further subdivide doesn't, in our view, constitute a special circumstance. Also, the proposed parcels would not be consistent with the minimum parcel size required in the zone, as we mentioned, or other parcels in the vicinity. This map here is showing all of the parcels in this area that have the identical zone of residential to 2.5 acre minimum parcel size, and all of the parcels here also are in the urban development area. So for that reason, we do believe the findings for approval of variance cannot be made. We do believe it would constitute a grant of special privileges. Going to the general plan and community plan consistency, there's a couple different sections that we need to talk about. I'll start first with the Jacoby Creek Community Plan. Policy 27 allows for full build out only when public water and sewer are available in the urban development area. The one thing I want to note, and I think I skipped over this, is that the general plan in this area under the Humboldt County General Plan specifies a density of 1 unit per 2.5 acres. So that matches the zoning that basically states you should be creating parcels that don't exceed that 2.5 acres. So what this policy is telling us is that full build out to that 2.5 acres per parcel should only occur when public water and sewer are available. And it does say except as provided in this plan. So there's another policy, which is basically its sister policy, which says residential development at 1 dwelling unit per 5 or more acres may be permitted within the urban development area if it's determined a number of things, including that public water and sewer are not available, and it can safely accommodate individual water and wastewater consistent with current county standards. It also, in this policy, you'll note down at the bottom, states that urban type development should not be permitted within the urban expansion area until it is annexed by the city of Arcata. It should be noted that while there is information in the application that the on-site water and septic systems could potentially support the proposed subdivision, that does not comply with the standard that says a minimum density of 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. The applicant has argued that the inclusion of the parcel in the urban development area and therefore the applicability of these parcels, of these policies, are an error, in large part because the city has not annexed or has any current plans to annex the property, and there are no current plans for any service provider to extend services out there. It should be noted that there were specific findings in the Jacoby Creek Community Plan that were made when these policies were adopted that specified that the neighborhood, this community had essentially reached its maximum capacity due to concerns, including on-site water and septic, and there was a history of water contamination in the area, and part of that played into the justification for setting those higher density standards. So we do not believe that the inclusion in the urban development area was an error. The parcel is approximately 150 feet from the city of Arcata boundaries, and so it's not unreasonable to expect that at some point in the future, whether it's the near future or some point further down the line, that the parcel could potentially be annexed. Further, there are policies that we just talked about that I anticipate that public water and sewer may not necessarily be available in this area, and they do contemplate what that development density should look like. So, going to the next one here. Further, there is Jacoby Creek Community Plan Policy P39, which also prohibits subdivision of these designated lands, which create parcels less than 5 acres, until public water is available. And this should be noted, this policy applies to all of those designated lands in the Jacoby Creek Community Plan area, even if they are outside of the urban development area. So again, whether you're in the urban development area or outside of it, we have policies that strictly limit the density to that 1 unit per 5 acres. And lastly, as I think mentioned, the Humboldt County General Plan itself, as it was adopted in 2017, sets the density here at 2.5 acres. So even all of the Jacoby Creek policies aside, the general plan sets this for 2.5 acres. Now, one thing that you'll note, the applicant argues that the general plan in its text identifies that the residential estates could be set with a density of 1 to 5 acres. And that is true, but it's also true that in adopting the plan in 2017, the land use maps that the board adopted for this area specifically set this density at 2.5 acres. So in staff's view, the project does not comply with requirements of the zoning ordinance, cannot meet the required findings for variance, is inconsistent with the general plan, and is inconsistent and incompatible with the Jacoby Creek Community Plan. And for that reason, we did recommend denial at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission denied the application on a 6-1 vote. So the applicant did file a timely appeal, and we believe his appeal focuses on 3 main arguments. One, that in his view, the argument for approval under the Subdivision Map Act is compatibility with the plan rather than consistency. He mentioned he believes that the Jacoby Creek Community Plan is in error and that all of those policies should therefore not be applicable to the subdivision, and that in his view the subdivision is compatible with the common sense principle of the general plan, which does say that the policies within the general plan should be interpreted in a common sense manner. So this next slide right here is basically pulling out the applicable section of the Subdivision Map Act, which states that a legislative body of a city or county shall deny approval of a tentative map or parcel map for which a tentative map is not required. And this would be a parcel map for which a tentative map is not required, if it makes any of the following findings, and it lists more than these 2, but these are the applicable ones here: that the proposed map is not consistent with applicable and special plans, and the design or improvement of the proposed subdivision is not consistent with the applicable general and specific plans. So this is the section that requires the city or county to deny approval of a map when it's not consistent. There is also this section, which the applicant and appellant points to, which says no local agency shall approve a tentative map or parcel map for which a tentative map was not required, unless they find, together with provisions for its design and improvement, it's consistent with the general plan or any specific plan. And then the second part here, which I believe is what the appellant is focusing on, is that a proposed subdivision shall be consistent with a general plan or a specific plan only if the local agency has adopted such a plan and the proposed subdivision or land use is compatible with the objectives, policies, general land uses, and programs specified in such a plan. So in your appeal, in the appeal information that the applicant appellant has submitted, you'll see that there's a lot of information they have provided to demonstrate why they believe that it is compatible with the plan and the objectives and policies. As we noted before, we don't believe that the Jacoby Creek Community Plan was adopted in error. These are the findings that were made originally when the plan adopted those 5-acre minimum densities for the residential estates area. As you can see, the board at the time found that some neighborhoods had reached maximum capacity.
I'm going to ask you to pull that mic really close. People are having a hard
Sorry.
time hearing you.
I can hear myself, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. And that they had made the finding specifically that there were failing septic systems and surface water contamination in portions of the planning area. And so, of note, there have not been any area-wide studies to show that there's, or document that this condition is not still existing. So the appeal, let's see, not an error. I have one more thing I wanted to talk about. On this slide also, just want to note that one of the arguments that the appellant focuses on is whether the project is compatible. And so in his argument, the project could potentially be compatible even if it's not consistent with many of the policies. I think we've identified that it is not consistent with many of the policies in the plan. But in our view, it's also not compatible when, first, it's clearly inconsistent with certain policies, but second, you can see here, it's not compatible with the findings that the board made in adopting those policies. And so, and lastly, we do not believe that it is compatible with the common sense provision of the general plan to allow a subdivision that's below those minimum standards provided for in both the general plan and the specific plan. So in summary, the project does not comply with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The required findings for variance cannot be made. The project is inconsistent with the general plan and inconsistent and incompatible with the Jacoby Creek Community Plan. And that will conclude my presentation, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So I need to give the applicant some time. Sure. So some clarifying questions to staff, and then we're going to have the applicant talk.
Cliff, do you have the map?
The, which map were you referring to?
The site map or the subdivision map?
Yep. Let me pull that back up.
And have we ever used the common sense approach before? Sorry, John, I had to ask.
Okay, should be sharing the subdivision map right here.
I'm going to ask you to wait, sir, until, thank you. And then I'll call, that's okay, I'll call you up. I'm going to let the supervisors ask their questions and then have you come up.
So across the private road there, off a golf course, those 3 lots to the right of those are all unbuildable lots also, right?
No, I believe those are buildable. I think they're actually developed. In the Jacoby Creek Community Plan area, there are a number of parcels that might be below.
Because those are all under half acre.
Correct. And those predate the adoption of the Jacoby Creek Community
Okay,
Plan.
it was said there was no lots in vicinity, and it sure seems like they're pretty close, so.
Okay. Do you want to address that, John?
I just want to really clarify that point, because that is a struggle when you look at the surrounding development pattern. There is a bunch of lots that are much, much smaller than what's being asked for here. So one of the questions that is logical to ask is why? And all those lots were created before, as Mr. Johnson mentioned, before adoption of the Jacoby Creek Community Plan. And Mr. Johnson showed you the findings that were made within the plan that said this area has already been developed to basically the carrying capacity. And so that's why there is zoning and land use that are even above the existing development pattern, and then it's further above with the 5-acre limitation, because there was concern about the area to be able to sustain development at that intensity on wells and septic systems.
Thank you.
Okay, if you want to bring your map over to our attorney, he will. He's going to present now if you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Director Ford, what amount of time? Director Ford, what amount of time would you like?
Chair's preference.
10 minutes?
10 minutes is.
Okay. Are you going to present for?
No, I'm not presenting for Larry. I'm just going to be doing public comment.
So you're passing this map out for Larry?
I'm the other half of, I'm the bordering parcel.
So what is this map for?
For your presentation.
For my presentation.
So you don't get a presentation, then you get 3 minutes for public comment. So we'll keep these until your public comment.
Okay.
And then Larry, if you want to present your case, you're welcome to do that now, and you have 10 minutes. You can either sit right there or you can use the podium.
Thank you. I'll try to use the speaker, and I apologize if I'm staring at you. I'm trying to read lips. I'm not being rude. I will do the best that I can to try to simplify this complicated matter, I guess. But I think that the Planning Department did a great job in terms of introducing this when they, in their summary, they say that the subdivision does not comply with the minimum lot size standards of the zone district and the general plan. And this is a good introduction because it is important to distinguish the plan from zoning. Mr. Ford described the plan perspective to the Planning Commission as a view from 1,000 feet above, kind of like the camera in the sky bit. So we're talking about densities, neighborhood densities when we're talking about planning provisions. Whereas the zoning's perspective is the foot on the ground perspective. That's where we're talking about lot sizes and the particular specifics of the lots. Regarding nonconformance with the zoning minimum lot size standards, it's true that the subdivision would not comply, but only if the variance is not granted. If the variance is granted, then we do comply with the minimum lot size standards, and I think that's important. So the claim that we're not in conformance with the zoning, that's presumption that the board's going to deny the variance. Planning Department presumes that the variance is going to be denied simply because they say the findings for the variance cannot be made. But there are special circumstances that in fact exist. These are not real, these are real circumstances. They're not fabricated as planning implies. My wife and I, we probably made a mistake when we chose to alter the configuration of the property below 5 acres. Well, we just simply did not foresee that strict enforcement of regulatory agendas would supersede the application of common sense. Planning says that we are not being denied privileges of neighboring properties. Planning goes further and says that granting us the variance would be granting us special privileges. That is only planning's opinion, and it is not, in fact, no law. There is not no law, no policy or precedent mandating that conclusion. The fact is, our grounds for granting the variance are truthful and defendable, and your board has the choice to grant the variance. And I want to quote, the variance is dealing with both the minimum lot size modification. So to use the minimum lot size modification, you technically have to have 5 acres above. We're asking for a variance on that because we only have 4.6. The reason for the variance, I think, has been explained to you very clearly. Obviously, we do have one parcel that is smaller than the 2.5, that's the 1.6. But the findings are there. We disagree. We believe that we are not being granted special privileges, and we have been denied special privileges of the neighborhood, regardless of whether they were recently subdivided or subdivided before the Jacoby Creek plan. Planning says that the subdivisions is not consistent with the general plan. It's a requirement, okay, with the general plan's lot size standards or with the plan's requirement for public water and sewer. So that's basic, as simple as I can get in terms of defining what the conflict regarding the plan. Planning says that the subdivision's average lot size of 2.3 acres does not comply to the plan. The 2.3 acres is our average parcel size of the 2-lot subdivision. The plan density at issue is the plan's designated residential estates density of 2.5 to 5 acres per unit. Planning's focus is only on the subdivision, the 2-lot subdivision, but when viewed from the neighborhood's 1,000-foot level perspective as what is supposed to be the scope of a general community plan, then the common sense focus would be on the relationship with the surrounding land use. And when viewed from that perspective, the subdivision is in fact infill development consistent with established density of that golf course road neighborhood. And that golf course road neighborhood, and you've seen maps comparisons, yes, it is isolated from the other area, RE zoned area that's been referenced by planning, but it is a neighborhood that's been established. And as far as the maps, we've done the best that we can to relate them to the maps that are provided by the county through the AP maps and everything else. But the acreage is smaller. The fact is that the current density of all those assessor parcels, each one of which is developed with private water and sewer, the density is less than what we are proposing. Basically, we are not causing the nonconformity of the density standards of the general plan. The nonconformity already exists. Planning says the subdivision does not comply to the requirements for public water and sewer. We wanted to comply, and 3 times we asked for the services. But as of 2000, the city will no longer provide the services anywhere outside their existing urban service area. And while we are only about 300 feet away, we are outside the city's service area. We cannot comply with that policy. And I want to explain the policies in terms of compliance. We're talking about just the 3 policies, the 3 requirements dealing with the requiring public water and sewer for any new development that's under the 5-acre density. There is no other policy or provision in the Jacoby Creek plan or the general plan that this is in conflict with, contrary to how it's been presented. Yeah, I want to just make that very clear. So when we look in the question of compatibility, you've been given all the information that I can provide in terms of why the compatibility is at issue. Yes, the plan says it can't be approved unless it's consistent with, but then it goes, it is compatible with the plan, it shall be deemed consistent. But the difference is because in interpreting the plan, you don't go through that every policy in the plan has to be met. That's just simply not the case. That's not the purpose of the plan. But I'm not here to lecture you about the planning philosophy. I apologize for that. Planning does say that the correct pathway for us would be to apply to change the general plan policies. Planning further says that my wife and I, quote, do not believe that this is necessary for approval and have chosen to apply for the subdivision. First, we are not to blame for you having to deal with this today. We are the victims here, not the county. Second, we would not be here if that outdated Jacoby Creek plan policies requiring public services were updated when your board directed that they be updated back in 2020. We are not responsible for fixing the county's problems with a catch-22 plan policy that is outdated, impractical, and unattainable. And those policies are that way because the city changed their position. When the plan was first adopted in 1982, the city had a very aggressive annexation policy. They changed that, and the plan, the Jacoby Creek plan, was predicated on the city providing services. In 2000, they changed that, and I didn't realize I had less time, so I did not realize I was under the 3-minute.
You're okay. I'll give you a couple extra minutes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll go on. The church change in the plan is not the only way to approve our subdivision. I want to make that very clear. This is important because you have the discretion to find error in the plan today and to issue explicit directive to change the plan to address that error. That error being that even back in 2017, when the plan was adopted, the city changed its policy. Those services are not going to be available. The policy cannot be complied with. I, as many other property owners in the Jacoby Creek area, are very confident that the Planning Commission and the board back then saw error in the plan, and the directive that was given was that the plan be changed to correct that error. That's what I heard. That's what other people have heard, and I think you'll receive that testimony today. When asked why they did not initiate fixing the Jacoby Creek plan as directed, planning has given varied excuses, one being that changing just one of the three policies, one of the three catch-22 policies, would not solve our particular problem. We're not asking that our particular problem be solved. This is affecting other people in that whole neighborhood, that whole area of Jacoby Creek. And when I talk about the neighborhood, I'm not talking about Jacoby Creek. I'm talking about the Golf Course Road neighborhood. Another excuse that was given is that they did not have time or money to do the work. Well, I question whether or not that was the board's directive. Did the planning department come to you and say, we're not going to do as directed because we don't have the money? And did they ask for the money? I do not believe that your board intentionally cut off correcting the catch-22 policy. And the most recent excuse was that the study of the cumulative impacts has not been conducted. I'm not quite sure why it hasn't been done. If the study is truly needed to update the plan, I think it should have been started at least. But also, are we talking about the same kind of study that was done for the adoption of the Jacoby Creek plan in 1982, or its readoption in 2017, or with the adoption of the ADU ordinance, or for the 35 parcels in the Golf Course Road neighborhood that have all been developed without public water or sewer, except for 2 remaining potential lots, which includes ours, or for any other of the county's community plans which do not have the requirement for public water and sewer. I want to make a point that planning says that, and I'm going to quote here, that
Sir.
the record is clear that the density restriction was established with the objective of limiting more urban development due to concerns that the area had already reached its maximum development capacity.
Sir, I'm sorry. I gave you an extra 2 minutes, so you're
Okay.
gonna need to.
So I can continue, let my son continue for me?
No.
Okay.
So what will happen now is I'm going to allow for any questions from the board. of
Okay.
you. Does anybody have any questions of him right now? No. So then I'm going to ask you to sit down, and
Okay.
staff is going to respond. And then when we have public comment, then your son can come for 3 minutes during public comment.
I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Would staff like to respond?
We can respond now or at the end of public comment.
Okay, so we're going to open to public comment then, and we're going to start with Zoom.
There is none, Chair.
Okay, so we're going to start with public comment in the room. Each public commenter will get 3 minutes on this agenda item. And if you are going to make public comment, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Brett Marth. I'm the bordering parcel in these maps that I distributed here. I'm the yellow on the second page. Larry is the red. The yellow up top of the page, not the ones on the side. And kind of just echoing a lot of the things that he said, when you look at the map here, the density of a lot of the neighboring parcels is smaller than the 2.5 acres, which seems to make the argument that ours is not, going against that density. In addition, the third map here shows if we were to say make a lot line adjustment, we could make 2.5 acres consistent through both of our subdivisions, because I'd like to subdivide as well. So like technically that could be made. And yeah, I think that I feel like I'm requesting that the board approve this just simply because I don't feel like it falls out of line with the neighborhood. And we've proven that we have the water to provide. We've done a soils test to prove that we could handle the septic. And yeah, so I guess I'm just requesting that you guys approve the variance and take into consideration the work we've done to show that we'd like to conform, we're trying to conform, and we're not disrupting the community. So I guess that's all for me.
Thank you. I didn't recognize you. Hi.
Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Next public commenter, please.
Good morning. My name is Sue Arnger. I'm both a friend and a neighbor of the Hendersons, and I feel my job is to try and humanize this a bit. Eileen Henderson's father built that home. It's the only home she knows. It's where she and Larry have spent the entirety of their marriage. It's where they raised their son. It's a 3-generation family now. Getting this variance allows them to maintain that family home. I think they deserve their family home. I went to the Planning Commission hearing when Larry asked for this variance. What struck me was that all of the planning commissioners wanted to give the variance. They kept asking the planning department, how can we work around this? How can we give them the variance? The only reason they didn't was that Mr. Ford said that they couldn't. And I think the information that Larry has presented really does counteract that. You do have the authority to grant this variance. senior administrative analyst for the county for nearly 40 years. I had a lot of people come to me with reasons why they couldn't do something. But when you change your perspective, when you look at the whole picture, there's usually a way forward. I don't see anybody except the planning department saying that this would be a bad idea. This variance would allow for one more house. And if you took a drive through this area, you would see that everybody but the Hendersons has basically built out to the edges of their property. This is not going to create a problem of density. In fact, they'll have a shared driveway. Nothing is going to be visible if you drive on Golf Course Road. So I'm hoping that that you'll see that this is one of those circumstances where granting a variance really does make common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Before I comment, I have a question about the
I'm sorry.
wastewater.
I'm sorry, sir. So we
I can't question the
no,
wastewater study?
No. So you can do your 3 minutes,
Okay.
and then we don't do back and forth with the questions. I apologize.
Well, I just had a question of clarification for him, but I'll just make my point anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to build a home in the Jacoby Creek area. The property where I want to build is currently restricted by the Jacoby Creek Community Plan's requirement for public water and sewage services, which are not available and likely never will be. I participated and observed the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors hearings about the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. I oppose the proposed restrictions on ADUs in the Jacoby Creek area to only properties having public services. I believe they should be permitted wherever it is safe and reasonable to put them, especially given the lack of housing in our area and in the county. However, of greater concern to me was the county requirement of public services for all new Jacoby Creek developments, when these services are unavailable and frankly unnecessary. When I heard the Planning Commission hearings, what I heard at the Planning Commission hearings was a concern and recommendation that the Jacoby Creek Community Plan's distinct requirement for public services at densities of 5 acres and greater needs to be corrected and to be consistent with the county's other community development plans. The board, as I heard it, was in agreement with the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission directed the Planning Department to correct the plan accordingly. I want to know why the Jacoby Creek Community Plan has not been updated as directed 5 years ago by the Planning Commission and supported by the Board of Supervisors. As I understand, the Planning Department chose not to do so because they said the directive doesn't solve the problem in that only one policy, Policy 26, and not any others was explicitly listed for refining, which is not at all what I heard in the meeting. JCCP policies 26, 27, and 39 are those in question. Policy 26 allows parcels of 5 acres or larger without public water or sewer services. Policies 27 and 39 require these services for parcels smaller than 5 acres. If the true concern is requiring public services when they cannot be provided, why update only Policy 26 but not Policies 27 and 39? This makes no sense to me, and I highly doubt that the board would do that intentionally. It also raises serious questions about the accuracy of reporting of the board's directive, what was the true intent of the board. I do not accept the Planning Department's assertion that the directive was not intended as an official directive or their lack of action as the public expected. I want to know why that the Planning Department intentionally delayed resolution of this issue for 5 years, and they should have at very least asked the board and the Planning Commission for clarification. Additionally, the wastewater issues, as I understand them, were from studies done almost 4 years ago. Wastewater technologies and septic systems have improved vastly in that time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Karen Ferber. Sorry about that. I own the property that's right across the driveway from the property that they're wanting to separate from their main house land. I appreciate all the people who addressed the laws, the rules, all that. My concern is just personal. Living right there, I would not want to see a huge house built there, but it's not my property. It's their property. And I know that it's really important for them to be able to do what they've asked to do. My view shed is not as important as their life. And I have to trust a higher power to take care of my needs, not my wants, my needs. And I decided to come here because I thought, I can't figure out why would they not do that? And I thought there must be things I don't understand. Well, what I learned is that there are things that should have been changed in the rules. I don't know how to say all the right words about this. Things that should have been changed that were not changed. And those are preventing Larry and Eileen from doing what they want to do. And then the other thing was, well, maybe it is a health issue. Maybe. And then when I think about that there are no public services available, and that amount of land is definitely enough to put in a viable septic system to keep the groundwater clean, whatever the concerns are for all those rules. Bigger than my property, and we have 2 septic systems on half an acre. You should be pounding your gavels against me. They need this. I ask you to grant it to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a dog in this fight, but I can feel for these people. Testimony given during the general plan update by, I believe her name was Martha, I can't remember her last name, I could be refreshed by Cliff, regarding the common sense principle is we rarely use the common sense principle. And at that time, that seemed to be a fatal flaw, in my opinion. I think the common sense principle is applicable under this particular request. I guess it comes down to, do you want people to have more housing in Humboldt County or not? Do you wish to go ahead and go to some things that, in my opinion, should have been updated, same as the zoning in my areas? I think I'd have to come in for a variance or use permit because mine is unclassified general designated. That should have been changed. They're coming up against the same thing. So I strongly recommend you do use the common sense principle on this one. You're within a very small part, what, 45, less than half an acre, as far as complying with no questions being asked, nothing being done. The testimony was that it sounds like the system can be designed or has been designed that will not cause harm to the watershed, that will not cause harm to the sewer things. And those rules are in place that enable you to go ahead and use the common sense principle and move forward with this, this request for this variance. That's what variances were for, specifically for these times, and I think it's within your power to go ahead and grant that. So I recommend you do. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item? Sir, you're not, you can't make public comment? You already spoke?
I'm confused, I'm sorry. What is it that I may do in order to finish mine?
You can't.
I can't.
No, the board can ask questions of you if we choose, and if there's someone in the audience that can read your statement, they're welcome to come and do 3 minutes. Hi there.
Hi, I am the son.
Okay.
It starts right here. What I understand from my research is that the density restrictions has established on request of Arcata to support its aggressive annexation policy at that time, and that the justification for doing it was the state's waiver prohibition. I also read that the only area within the Jacoby Creek Community Plan that had water quality problems were the pockets of lowlands off Jacoby Creek Road, not in the Baysides area. And I certainly know that the waiver prohibition did not require a reference need for a 5-acre density limitation for new development without public services.
Thank you. Okay, if there is no other public comment on this item, I'm going to close the public comment. And I'm going to come back to staff.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to make a couple of comments. First, one of the comments that was made is that originally Arcata was going to annex this area. And that's identified as an error in the plan. That's not an error in the plan. That's a change in circumstances which would warrant a general plan or community plan amendment. That's the correct process to get there first, is to modify the plan. That has been presented to the applicant, as was referenced in his presentation, that we did talk to him about the correct procedure being to modify the plan. Obviously, he feels strongly that the county should be doing that already. And there's I want to be careful, I don't want to be flippant here, but there's a lot of things that we'd like to be doing already. And so the fact that we haven't not gotten to that yet is not because we don't care, because we're blowing it off, or anything of that sort. It's just that we do have a list of priorities, housing being one of them, trying to finish the McKinleyville Community Plan, trying to finish the Regional Climate Action Plan, trying to update the Humboldt Community Plan, as things that are already on our plate that we've just not been able to get through in a timely enough fashion to be able to get to this. We also have general plan implementation to do that is pretty important. So the important thing to understand there is that there is the responsibility to look at things from a larger perspective, not just ignore policies, but if circumstances have changed, the appropriate path is to look at those policies and look at changing those, not call them an error. The other thing I want to make clear is that the parcel can support an ADU. And so would just want to say that there's no use of the property being deprived. We do believe strongly that there was consideration being given to the importance of protecting groundwater, protecting water resources when the original plan was adopted. And we don't find it to be an appropriate action to ignore that at the time. While I cannot tell you exactly what the study showed at the time or why that thinking was there, whether it was technical, scientific, or political, there were those breadcrumbs that were left in the plan to help us interpret why those policies are there. I think the important thing too is to look at the overall structure of the plan, which took into account the fact that this area may not be annexed. It may never have water and sewer. And so it allowed for a 5-acre parcel to be developed with a residence, with septic, with a well, if it could be demonstrated that the well could be done safely, securely, that the wastewater could be handled safely, securely. Just finally, and I feel like I'm perhaps stating too much on a single point, but it's an important point to recognize that there are policies that allow placement of a well, placement of a wastewater treatment system on a parcel. But we're looking at a bigger issue, which is, should the parcel be created with the resource constraints that exist? And that's where the larger study would really need to be done to make sure that there is no groundwater pollution going on currently, and that the existing area can support additional parcel creation using septic systems for wastewater disposal and also using private wells. I think I'll stop there and accept any questions that you might have.
Okay. I have one first, just clarifying. Is there a size restriction for ADUs?
No.
No. And then I do have another one with the map. Have you seen the map that Mr. Marth gave us?
No.
And so he proposed that with a lot line adjustment, that each one of those parcels would be 2.5 acres, which it shows. And then is that the qualifications to subdivide this, is 5 acres to create 2.5?
So that's where this gets layered and perhaps complicated.
Scott, can you hand that to John, please?
Oh, that was in Mr. Henderson's appeal letter.
Yeah.
Is that the general plan and the zoning refer to 2.5. The Jacoby Creek Community Plan says 5 acres unless there's public water and public sewer.
Okay. Supervisor Bohn?
How far does the Jacoby Creek plan go? Because Golf Course Road's about a half-mile past Jacoby Creek Road, which I think in the bottoms and everything else. So it's farther north. So I'm trying to see what part of Golf Course Road.
I think Mr. Johnson, if he can share his screen, he's got a map up that can show that.
How big is the plan areas, I'm wondering? Because it's elevated quite a bit over the Jacoby Creek itself.
This area is much bigger, and when you get outside of where the smaller parcels are, there's some fairly large parcels that are tucked back up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think I'm sharing.
And did this parcel used to be 5+ acres? And then there was a lot line done years ago?
It used to be probably at least 10 acres, perhaps
Okay.
as much as 11. And there was, I believe, a parcel map and subsequent lot line adjustment.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the lot line adjustment in the mid-'80s reduced it below the 5 acres.
Okay.
This is probably the best thing I have right now. This doesn't completely encapsulate the Jacoby Creek Community Plan area, but it includes a good portion of it. And then one thing I wanted to do, I'm going to stop and then share another image.
You're looking for that, can I say something?
Yeah.
Well, Cliff's looking for that. I want to clarify something, that back in the 80s, state law required lot line adjustments to only comply with zoning. More recently, the state law was changed to require it to comply with zoning, general plan, community plan. So while in the 80s it didn't need to comply with the 5 acre requirement, now it would. And so I just wanted to say that because the first question I would ask is, well, how'd they create a 4.6 acre parcel to begin with? At that time, it wasn't required to comply with the community plan. It was only required to comply with zoning.
Well, I understand your part about annexation. I can't imagine the city of Arcata wanting to annex that because I don't think there's a sales tax paying business in those parameters. So there isn't much of a desire to police and take care of everything and have no monies coming in.
Cliff, are you pulling up another map?
Yes, so this is an image from our GIS, and you can see the parcel is actually the red pin and then the parcel APN just to the north of it. But one thing, there's been a lot of reference to the Golf Course Road neighborhood. You can see Golf Course Road kind of makes a turn and then heads back up to the golf course. A lot of the maps that have been provided to you by the applicant stop at, if you look at the red line on the maps that you have, and they conveniently cut off some larger parcels that are under the same zoning, under the same general plan designation. And so when you start to look at what we consider to be a more consistent planning area with the same zoning, the same general plan designation, the same policies, there are other parcels that are larger and could potentially be subdivided to the 2.5 or even 2.2 2 or whatever, that this may set a precedent for.
So, no.
No.
So,
I'm sorry.
Cliff, is there a bigger picture there? I mean, I just want to see where Jacoby Creek Road is. Just to put my own. Looks like our map cuts it off too.
There it goes. So you can see Jacoby Creek Road down to the
Yeah,
south.
and it heads, and then across the street there, that big parcel across. Anyway. All right, I just, I know those bigger parcels would be the west, I guess, would be those farmlands or bottomlands. Okay.
Anyone else from the board? Supervisor Wilson, then Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you. So the policy on accessory dwelling units, that came just recently, basically from SB 9.
Mike, the applicant's hard of hearing, so if you could pull that, thank you.
Sure. Our ADU ordinance basically came out of SB 9, right? Senate Bill 9.
Correct.
And so what that, functionally did within this area is double the potential for wastewater impacts pretty much on every existing parcel, or is there some, assuming that there's a place to put septic?
Well, it depends on how you want to calculate a primary house, an ADU, and a JADU.
Right.
That could all be permitted.
In SB 35 was the one that allowed for the subdivision by right was in residential zoning, but that doesn't apply to this zoning?
No, that's got to be within the urban area, and I think it's also got to have services.
It has to have services.
Yeah.
Okay. So, from that perspective, we have an original assessment of this watershed area that looked at potential impacts from septic, but that assessment is predating the now existing condition, which is the entitlement for potentially almost doubling that capacity. Am I close on this?
Yeah, you were very close.
Okay. So that's a change in sort of the existing condition of the watershed that I'm getting at. The other thing I'm concerned about, I think, is the precedent-setting issue around the subdivision creating a new 1.6 acre parcel, which then would set the precedent by which everyone else coming to ask for subdivisions within that space to be able to say that you're granted a right or a privilege, that now I should have that right or privilege. And that precedent would be existing. And I think that is something we have to think about because that's what we would do under these existing conditions without changing the policy from that perspective. So I have some reservations. I do think, in my world, I do think that especially with the City of Arcata's statements recently about their RENA numbers and their regional housing numbers and their need to actually expand above market rate housing, this would be probably a pretty good opportunity to do that. Would be annexation into this space to be able to create that opportunity, because with services you could get this sort of thing to occur. It would require services. It would probably, and I know it would require a better road. Trust me, the neighbors on this road are not happy with our ability to maintain it in this case. And I would say that the existence of half-acre parcels doesn't. we can't use that as the pretext, I think, only because then we would have to say that's the pretext for future half-acre parcels throughout the entire planning area. So, you know, so I guess those are my concerns about this. I do want, again, for there to be more housing. I do think that, and what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say, is there's an opportunity to construct another unit on this property, another living unit, so that could be done. I don't have a way to address what was given to us for the adjacent properties because they're in different ownership. And I hear that it's family member, but again, so there have been so many times when we have discussed or moved or made decisions on people's intentions of neighboring property owners, even family members, that then they just sold the property or they just moved on, and then we made decisions based on sort of these intentions. Now, I suppose if someone was to come back and say, like, okay, we are gonna make subdivisions again for these 2.5 acre lots, but what you're saying is within that still doesn't meet the planning area requirements currently?
That's correct.
So your kind of global suggestion is around changing, if we want to see that, is really going back and changing the planning area requirements and then being able to say, like, okay, then you can come in and do this, or maybe that's part of this process. Where are we heading in that, from that discussion?
So we need to take a look at this area, figure out why the board, planning commission, community made findings that they thought that the area had reached its development capacity and put limitations on future development unless there is water and sewer.
Okay, and so some new findings would have to be made through that process, and that would have to go through the planning commission and through us to make those amendments to
That's correct. And it needs some technical studies. We need to have some geologic analysis, get some water quality analysis, need to determine if there's contaminants that's entering into either the groundwater or surface water.
Right.
We need to determine whether the groundwater level has been stable over time. And some of that can probably be determined from existing well records.
Well, there's this, for me, again, I'm backing away from this particular parcel and looking at, the question is going to be, you could go through all that effort, but how much housing are you actually what's going to come out the other end? Is it worth the time? Is it worth the effort? Would we get 10 housing units, 100 housing units, 1,000 housing units? Like, what would we derive from that effort in order to
likely more than 10, but certainly less than 100.
Okay, so within that order of magnitude, 2-digit order of magnitude. Okay. Yeah, I see the quandary. I'm concerned about the precedent of doing this. Yeah, I'll have to think about it a little bit more, but I'm leaning on moving or on going with the planning commission on this and the findings that they've done. But the problem I have is that we need to. It seems like there's definitely a need to prioritize the issue around advancing the ability to seek more subdivisions within this planning area sooner rather than later. Again, based on the idea that we're actually going to get some real housing out of the deal. And again, going back to accessory dwelling units, every one of these lots now has the ability to, if it perks, to put in a new septic system, which was not analyzed in this in the plan as it currently exists. Thank you.
Director Ford, when you add an ADU unit to your property, you have to have a septic for your ADU?
It can, if the existing septic is large enough, it could be discharged through that, or it would require a second septic system.
So you're saying that they could put an ADU and a junior ADU on this property, but then add septic if needed, but a parcel split wouldn't support possibly a septic? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, the thing that you've got to think about is that right now you could have up to 3 units.
I understand.
So if you subdivide it, you could get 6
I
units.
understand that too. So, okay. Supervisor Madrone.
So the largest septic tanks are what, 1,500 gallons? 18,
That would be a large tank, yeah.
15 or 18?
You can probably get them larger than
Mm-hmm.
that, but
I
for
see.
a typical home, probably about that size.
And that supports what, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, or is that how it's determined?
I am probably the wrong person to
Okay,
ask that
Mario's
question
not
to.
here, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know it's based on capacity, right? And I think they figure that by bedrooms, by occupancy, number of people that might utilize the septic system, et cetera. So the maps that were handed out, map B shows 4 possible parcels, 2 proposed, 2 future. Is this property right now 10 plus acres, or is it already broken into 2 5-acre parcels or so?
It-
Okay. Okay, and that's where Brett was saying he might like to split as well, the proposed. Or it's listed as future
Yeah.
on this map. So that's over 5 acre, that parcel. And the Henderson one is just under 5 acres right now.
It's 4.6, correct.
Okay. Yeah, those .5 or half-acre parcels, adding an ADU, I mean, there's the issue of setbacks from a well, right? And if I'm understanding correctly, everybody up here is on wells pretty much, because they're not on city water, so they're on wells.
Correct.
And you've got this, 100-foot setback from the well, or a spring, or a stream, or a body of water. You got a 100-foot setback minimum. But I can tell you from personal experience that that doesn't necessarily provide you the buffers you need to protect your well. There are many cases, and I suspect in this neighborhood it exists, and that's where your studies would come in, that there are situations where maybe it works most of the time, but in like the last 2 winters that we just had, where groundwater is super saturated right to the surface, even on ground that is, looks like, looking at the topo map, that this is the high ground here on Golf Course Road. The ponds down at the golf course are at about 100 feet elevation or so, and top of this hill is 170, 175 or so, using the GIS portal and your contours as indications. Even in conditions like that, the ground can get saturated, like last winter. I know of conditions where ground got saturated and people started putting leach fields, leach line systems on top, or not leach line, but French drains on top of their leach line area, because the leach line was starting to, pond up in their backyard, right? Leachate on the surface, and so they'd put in a French drain and run that over to some low spot. So from personal experience, I know that septic systems, even if they're permitted, are not necessarily a protection of groundwater or of wells. The higher your density, with a really wet winter, the more likely you're going to end up with septic pollution. And that then requires UV systems or chlorination systems or osmosis systems or all kinds of thousands of dollars expenses. And then, of course, there's Wisconsin mounds that are sometimes, conditions that are placed on situations where there might be high groundwater. People were talking about how that might exist along Jacoby Creek Road and some of the low-lying areas, probably below the golf course, I'm assuming. This does seem to be high ground, but I mean, for me, the issues of polluting each other's wells become a real issue. And as was mentioned in the community plan, that was sort of at the center of the movement towards a 5-acre minimum, was to try and reduce the potential for higher densities, especially now with the ability to ministerially add ADUs and stuff, the potential for polluting wells and other water systems. So I can certainly understand that. It's very concerning for me. No other questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Bohn, and then.
I just have comments. I don't know whether we're at questions or comments.
I'm gonna, no, I'm actually gonna take a 5-minute break. And, but if someone wants to make a comment really quick, or we could do it when we come back. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll be back. Supervisor Bohn has a question, but I was also curious if we wanted to, I mean, I hear from this board that there is wishes to maybe try to accommodate this. So if we were to continue this hearing and allow you to do some work for the, is it the community plan?
Yes.
Is that something that maybe could make this viable?
It could. I mean,
Okay.
the best process would be to get the community plan modification out in front of the map, and then it would make the map easy to approve.
Okay, Supervisor Bohn.
Yeah, and I just, when we look at these things, we usually have a huge crowd of people opposed to it. I don't want this in my neighborhood, and we have the closest neighbor they got all for it. And I think, I don't know what the motives are here, but no offense, Larry's getting older, and I don't think he wants to take care of 4.8 acres anymore, or whatever the case be. Is there a possibility, since the big concern with everything, and it was okay, and now it's not okay, and everything else, can we put a restriction on it and basically say they can build no ADUs? They can have the house they got on the one, or maybe an ADU on that existing parcel. The new parcel gets no ADUs. It just gets to build and you can limit it to a 3,000 square foot house. I don't know if they'd be up for that or anything else, but all of a sudden you were going, they could have up to 6 units, junior ADUs and everything else, and now you've cut that in half. And that's to say if they even want to build an ADU. Most of the people that buy a property out there really aren't looking to, they buy it so they won't have a neighbor. I don't think they're going to spend money to get a neighbor. I wouldn't, but would that be, because I know the biggest concern you guys have is there's going to be, I just heard it, is this going to open it up to 1,000 units out there? Feasibility speaking, it's not, it's going to cost you to build a unit and do everything you want. I mean, just an ADU unit, 150,000. If you can do it, if you can do it for that by the time you do all the electrical hookups and the. So is there a possibility we could put a restriction on it and then we could follow through with this? They could and I don't know if they want that. I'm just saying for my own, because that almost sounds like common sense, but because I hear that nobody wants to shut it down completely. We'd like to work with them in some manner or another, because it doesn't look like Jacoby Creek to me. It's just, and I know enough people that live up there. The other thing is a large majority of the parcels up there I don't think could support another unit because of the topography. It's pretty, So is that a possibility?
So, that's a tricky question to get there. I mean, because the policy is pretty clear. You just don't create parcels of less than 5 acres unless there's water and sewer. So what you'd be asking us to do is somehow make findings that allowing the subdivision is the equivalent of having a single parcel with a primary unit and an ADU. And currently an ADU can be up to 1,200 square feet. I wouldn't be hugely comfortable with that.
How about if we just if they were willing to do the subdivision, one parcel, one unit per parcel? They may not want to do that. I don't know, I don't know what's driving this. I haven't asked, but would that be a possibility? And now we're not extending anything.
You're still creating parcels in violation of a policy in the plan.
Yes, we are. But I just see we're
the thing that I would prefer to do is to take a few weeks, months, and see if there's anything on record that would give us cause for pause about it somehow doing something with that 5-acre limitation. And if there is, then we could bring it back to the board and say, here's the concern. If there's not, then we could recommend modifying that. But I don't know, Supervisor Bohn, you're asking me to do something that is not directly in compliance with policy, and it could set a precedent And let me
Yeah,
just say,
I guess I am, but I think that's why we're here, because not everything's in stone. They'd like it to be in stone, but otherwise we wouldn't have appeals and everything else, and we don't really need to be here if everything's in stone.
Larry, can I ask you to come forward for a minute? And I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. I would call you by your last hint,
That's
Mr.
okay.
Henderson.
You can call me anything.
Oh, be careful.
So,
So this is only question and answer now from the board. But if we continued this hearing and Director Ford and the planning department was able to do some work and it took us up 3 months, would that be okay for you not to get a denial today, but to allow them to try to find a way through the policy that this could maybe be worked out?
yes.
Okay,
Can I add a comment?
you can add one comment. But not something of context, just whether this would work for you or not if we continued the hearing.
Our objective is to have 2 lots. If that is light at the end of the tunnel, absolutely
Okay.
yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you. It's been helpful to hear all the conversation about this. I'll just make a few general comments. You know, I hear the frustration about the community plan and the updating of it, and I recognize that the intent of this was residential estate zoning, where there are larger parcels. That is, you know, the limitation exists to preserve a certain way of life in a community. Now, do I think would I like to see there be more housing adjacent to our communities that have the ability to support them through services? Absolutely. The question here is clearly about whether the services exist to support existing development, and they are limited. It's inherently limited. At one point, we thought maybe Arcata was going to annex it, and they're clearly not going to anytime soon. So you know, stripping away all of the who did what when and whether it was adequate, the ability to support the water and sewer needs is questionable here. So I hear that there's additional information. We might be able to resolve that through an update to the community plan, and that's what I'm interested in when it comes to this decision. The other things I'm interested in are factors that I think were touched on in the presentation, but not really at the fore. They're part of the staff report, and those were the public works concerns about, you know, Golf Course Road and recommended conditions around changes to that roadway if it's going to support additional development. And then the California Department of Fish and Wildlife site visit, and they recommended in their referral comments that if we, you know, wanted to proceed with approving the project, that it be continued so that they can conduct a site visit. And I think that's very reasonable, especially since we're talking about, you know, additional density in an area where that was not initially part of the community plan. So I hear the frustration about it. It is always, these are the matters that are the trickiest when people get, their particular project gets kind of caught in the crosshairs of a change over time. And of course, there used to be all manner of odd-sized parcels because this was literally the Wild West at one time. People came in and started developing willy-nilly. And then we discover over time that our community infrastructure, you know, at times can't support the development that we have in place. And I think it's our responsibility to determine whether those public trust resources can be protected through appropriate planning principles. And so that's what we're doing here. I just, whatever we can do to get to that goal where, you know, we can both support the needs and wishes of the property owner while also ensuring that there are adequate services and those issues around road and, you know, fish and wildlife review are addressed. That would be aligned with, you know, what I'd like to see here. And sometimes when we have to tighten down the rules because we're seeing development that can't be supported by infrastructure, people do have constraints that they don't want to live with, and that's you know, one of the hard parts of our job. So if the community plan update, you know, does not reveal that
these types of lot splits can be accommodated, then so be it. But I'd like to see what that, what that information shows before making a decision here.
So just for discussion, I'm going to make a motion that we continue this hearing so that the planning department can investigate that community plan update, and it would be continued to time uncertain. If I could get a second for discussion.
Second.
Okay. And Supervisor Wilson?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. In clarifying, what you're going to be looking at is basically the reduction of that 5-acre minimum. Right now, I mean, with the proponent and their relative, they're talking about 4 2.5-acre parcels. I'm okay with the discussion of even going smaller than that if the capacity exists. I just want that to be confirmed. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so because right now what we're being proposed is a 1.4. You could have, I don't know, 8 or 9 other lot splits at 1.4 within that, within that immediate area, with an expectation that they would also get that entitlement, right? That they would be able to have that that granted. And so I'm not stuck on 2.5 necessarily, although it's a standard that we use quite often. I just want to be clear that we have 2 goals. One is to protect the environment, and the other is to promote and create housing. And so I just want to just be, cognizant of that in this discussion. Now, you may get pushback from the neighbors, and I may hear a few phone calls coming my way from just even saying this, but nonetheless, I think it's important, and I do think that if there's the potential for extension of services, all this conversation is kind of like totally different ball of wax. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys working to do this. Again, let's take a balanced look at how much effort we put into actually how much housing we can actually produce versus all the other efforts you guys have. I have to remind the public, our staff is limited, not just in their budget, but in their actual numbers of humans that can do all the things that we're asking them to do. And this might be the subject of today in this little community right here, but we have a whole county the size of some states that also need planning and help in terms of housing and the environment. So appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay. Unless there's other substantial, I think, do you need to respond to Mike?
No, I don't need to respond. I completely understood everything he says. I just want to make sure that I understand the scope of this review. So the area that's currently designated and zoned RE is fairly large. We're looking at that whole area.
I mean, I think that you heard Supervisor Wilson say that if there's an opportunity to create housing with this area, that he wants your scope to be both. So.
Got it?
Okay.
So, and then just one more clarification.
Okay.
This is on the department's dime.
I mean, is it something that the department is supposed to do anyways? And this is triggered by this application?
I don't know that it was as large as what we're going to be doing here, but yeah.
Okay, so then I would say it's on the department's time.
Very good.
Supervisor Madrone.
Well, I would think it'd be part of the application. I mean, things come up all the time in applications. I would think it would be part of the application because things come up all the time, and ultimately, when you file for an application, a permit, you pay the costs of that because the county's broke. But that's just my point of view. I am curious as to whether or not the motion maker would accept an amendment to, you talked earlier about, a broader study, and maybe we don't need that, looking throughout the entire neighborhood at water quality issues or well testing, but it certainly would be nice, looking at the parcel maps. There's 3 half-acre parcels on the south side of one of the parcels, east side of the other one, and another half-acre parcel and a 3/4-acre parcel on the west side. So there's 5 parcels that are half-acre or just slightly bigger, immediately adjacent to these parcels. And prudent approach would be to test those wells, but I wouldn't be testing them right now at the dry season, although it rained an inch. That's nice, but the time to test these wells in terms of their raw water quality would be in the wet season, and see, is there existing fecal coliform coming out of those well tests? Or, do these property owners already have UV systems or chlorination or other things because they're aware they already have some pollution in their well? That, to me, would be a prudent thing to do, if we're trying to look at whether or not we can divide smaller than the community plan recommends, specifically because there was concerns about water quality issues and density. So a prudent approach would be to do that. Would the motion maker accept that amendment to at least get the information on those 5 parcels?
I think that I'm reluctant to do that currently because it's going to extend the time, although I would ask the director his thoughts.
Johnson's going to put a image up on the screen of what we think we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, just a minute.
So everything to the left of that red area, the red and yellow, down to the line there, that kind of light buff yellow color is what we're going to be looking at.
And can I clarify that that is the community development area that needed to be updated anyways? That you've been waiting to do?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. And so can then you answer the question about the well testing and what Supervisor
We will
Madrone-
use all available information that's available to us. So that is, I think it is prudent to collect information as it's available, because that saves us from having to go out and hire a consultant to do that work.
So I would amend my motion then to include all information that's readily available, but not to require more to be done by the property owners.
So clarifying question, I don't think you have hardly any information on well testing and water quality. I think it's just about zero, because people don't report that. So the answer to that would be no, there wouldn't be any available information in regards to water quality, because landowners aren't required to report it, and they don't report it. They don't want to get involved in what that might end up meaning.
Understand. The struggle that we have is, first, we're going to have to scope this. We're going to have to find out how much it's going to cost. In all honesty, we may be coming back to the board asking for a budget adjustment to go out and have the technical studies that need to be performed done. But the first step is just to figure out what we do have, what we do know.
Well, I understand that. But again, as I said, prudent, a simplified approach would be to just look at the 5 small parcels immediately adjacent. Most of the rest of the parcels are 1 to 3 acres in size and probably have less issues. But if there is an issue, it would probably show up in those 5 parcels that are ½ acres in size immediately adjacent. So that's just a thought in regards to that. But I guess we need to go back and see if there's a second to the amendment that you accept.
Well, I don't think that, what I would like to ask about what your consideration is, Director Ford, when you ask 5 parcels that aren't part of this application, do they have to consent to that?
No, it would be a voluntary
so yeah, they got to
participation.
Yeah,
on
then
their
they
part.
do have to consent.
Yep.
Because they can say, no, I don't want
Correct.
to. Okay, so then I'm not going to add that to the motion, because I think we can ask them anyways. And, what if they say no, then it doesn't matter anyways.
So just to be clear, you did agree to an amendment for the larger study that doesn't require getting any new data, but simply looking at existing data. What you have an issue with, I'm just trying to clarify.
So I'm okay with getting existing data if there's any included in the motion, if the seconder's okay with that.
I do have a question before we move forward. I think that's fine, except
So, Mike, there's, he has more to finish, so.
Oh, okay.
Then Rex is after that, and then you can go.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Lots to keep track of. So the other one is, I'm looking at your GIS portal, and I know it's, the aerial photo is real, right? But the lines that are on that aren't necessarily exactly where things are. But when I look at it and I blow it up, there's actually a garage or a barn or some structure that looks to be over the line on both parcels. But again, I know we're always told to take the GIS lines just as a slight indication, but that structure is either over the line or very close to the line, probably one way or another. Is there anybody here who could speak to whether or not the structure, based on a survey, is on just the one parcel, or if it actually overlays the line?
Can I ask why that would matter with this discussion?
Well, you know, when you start subdividing, it's important if there are structures. We deal with this all the time where we have to end up doing lot line adjustments and other things after the fact because somebody built over the line.
But I think that it would be further in discussion with the property owners, not our determination.
That's fine. I'll just make note of it, that it may be an issue. I don't know. But the other issue is what's interesting on the GIS portal is that these two parcels that are proposed are actually listed on the GIS portal as two separate parcels right now with two separate parcel numbers. So what are we dividing here? I mean, if they already exist, I'm a little confused.
So I would like to update, though, that the barn is not there any longer. No. Oh, it'll be removed. Okay.
It's
so
proposed
it
to
is
be
over the
removed.
line.
Yeah. So go ahead, John.
So assessor's parcel numbers are not the same, or assessor's parcel lots are not the same as legal lots.
Okay.
You can ask the assessor to say, I want 14 assessor's parcel numbers on my one legal lot, and they will give you that.
Okay. All right. Answered. Thanks.
Large ranches now have up to 50 parcel numbers.
No wonder things are so
Yeah.
confusing.
Okay, so we have a first and a second, and then Rex, did you have something? Or, okay, Mike, go ahead.
My concern is about the issue around what it costs to do this whole study or whatever that is versus what is being asked for by this one applicant and the differential between those two things. And I want to make sure we're not getting into a gift of public funds or whatever that would look like. I just don't want to I want to make sure that these are two very different things and that you do come back to the board with that differential in terms of the cost so that we really do understand what we're getting into here, because ultimately we're talking about a lot split for right now, just for one lot split, and is now expanded into a study or area plan study with some policy around that. I think it's important that we're clear about that. Some of that area also is within that area. There's it looks to me like there's a subdivision that may or may not have its own land use restrictions or its own covenants, CC&Rs that may not allow for subdivisions and those sorts of things. And I would want to make sure that we are accounting for that. So yeah, for me, I would ask that before we spend a bunch of money doing this, we bring that back. This is that balance between what we're spending and our time versus how many units we're actually going to help create.
So what I'm hearing you ask for, and maybe this becomes part of the motion, is that before we do any studies, we come back with a work program and a projected cost.
Yes, and really sort of what our expected outcome would be relative to both the applicant and the study area. You see what I'm getting at? Because I want to make sure that we're not doing so much that just to get us one lot.
So can I clarify, Director Ford, that you kind of already said that because you don't have a budget for it, so you would have to come back to the board anyways. So does it need to be part of the motion, or?
No, it's fine. I understand.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. And Kaylee, do you need an update on the motion, or you've got it?
I believe I have it.
Okay, so we're going to do a roll call.
Thank you. Supervisor Madrone.
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Yes.
Supervisor Bohn.
Yep.
Supervisor Wilson.
Yes.
Chair Bushnell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 to continue to a date uncertain.
Okay, Mr. Henderson, Director Ford can probably meet you out in the hallway and explain what's going to happen from here. Would that be okay, Director Ford?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go to our last item on our agenda, which is closed session, and we'll go to our county council for that.
Thank you, Chair Bushnell. It is the intention of the board to meet in closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9D1 in order to discuss existing litigation in the cases of In Re National Prescription Opiate Litigation, County of Humboldt versus Purdue Pharma LP et al., member case number 1:18-OP-45942-DAP. Maryland Lilly versus City of Eureka et al., Humboldt County Superior Court case number CV2501584. And Fahid Atiq Ahmed versus City of Arcata et al., Humboldt County Superior Court case number CV2501603. It is also the intention of the board to meet in closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9D4 in order to discuss the initiation of litigation in one potential case.
Okay, thank you. Public comment on Zoom?
There is none, Chair.
Public comment in the room?
We keep getting hooked up with litigation for these cities, and I've seen that happen before. We actually had it in Blue Lake. Well, just because of an address thing. I don't know how we can not be included in some of those things, if at all possible, to get out of them and not be linked with the other municipalities, which may be the cause of the problem. Looks like maybe the one lawsuit you have going may be some money for us, which is a great thing. If we're able to get that pharmaceutical settlement out of that, we could use the money. And then, of course, always be careful when initiating litigation. People can countersue and can come back and bite you in the backside from time to time. So be careful on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. County Council, do you have an estimate of time?
I would estimate 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay, we are going to go into recess. It is 11:38. If we could have the board in conference room A at 11:45. Thank you. Kaylee, let me know when you're ready. Okay, we're back out of closed session. County Council, do we have anything to report out?
Yes, Chair Bushnell. With regard to item K1, the board voted unanimously to authorize the acting county council to execute any and all documents necessary for the County of Humboldt to participate in the national opioid settlement agreements with Purdue Pharma, Alvogen, Amneal, Apotex, Hikma, Indivior, Mylan, Sun, and Zydus, under which the county will release the named companies from any and all claims, demands, actions, and causes of action related to the sale of prescription opiates in exchange for a total payment of approximately $4.6 million over a period of 15 years. With regard to item K2, the board voted unanimously to authorize the Humboldt County Counsel's Office to defend the County of Humboldt in the case of Maryland Lilly versus City of Eureka et al., Humboldt County Superior Court case number CV2501584. With regard to item K3, the board voted unanimously to authorize the Humboldt County Counsel's Office to defend the County of Humboldt in the case of Fahid Atiq Ahmed versus City of Arcata et al., Humboldt County Superior Court case number CV2501603. And there was no reportable action taken with regard to item K4.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to be in adjournment, but we do not have, just for everybody to know, we do not have a meeting on September 16th. We will be back in session on September 23rd. We are adjourned.